As the world mourns Pope Francis, history's most secretive transfer of power begins. White smoke, the path to a new pope, guides you through this momentous transition. We explain exactly what happens next, leading to the dramatic conclave vote. Learn how each ritual unfolds, what each tradition means, and why these ancient ceremonies still matter today. Follow along as the throne of St. Peter stands empty and a new chapter in church history begins. White Smoke, available wherever you get your podcasts.
What happens when political fiction starts to become reality? James Bennett, former action star turned popular California governor who returned to acting, stars in a hit streaming drama about seizing political power. When his former chief of staff suggests turning fiction into reality, the line between entertainment and conspiracy disappears. As a viral marketing campaign creates mass confusion, Bennett faces an impossible choice. When unexpected events in Washington coincide with the show's pivotal episode, is it a brilliant promotion or something more sinister? Acting President, 8 episodes of political intrigue where entertainment becomes a dangerous game. Acting President, wherever you get your podcasts.
Calaroga Shark Media.
They came from far and wide. The United States, the United Kingdom, South America, and beyond. All united in their desire to pay their last respects to Pope Francis. Outside St. Peter's Basilica, thousands of people have lined up for hours, some waiting in the cold twilight of Thursday morning to glimpse the pontiff's body as it lies in a simple wooden coffin, dressed in red liturgical vestments, his hands folded and holding a rosary. This is White Smoke, the path to a new pope. The basilica closed for just an hour for cleaning before reopening as hushed mourners, nuns, priests and members of the public filed past Francis, who died Monday after suffering a stroke. California native Sonia James described him as an extremely influential leader as she waited in line yesterday. "I think it's important, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity," she said. One of the first to pass by the coffin was Liza Massachi, who said the basilica was very crowded when she entered after lining up for around an hour. She likened losing Francis to losing your grandfather, your very wise grandfather, adding that she said her last goodbyes. The Vatican reports that more than 50,000 people have paid their respects since Wednesday. The queue to see the Pope now stretches out of St. Peter's Square and down the street, the first time that's happened since Francis's body was moved to lie in state. The basilica stayed open through much of the night because so many were still queuing. Some had come after work, others had been hoping for a shorter line in the evening. "I think the Pope was an amazing man, so I wanted to see him," 13-year-old Eduardo said, waiting after midnight with his parents. "I am really sorry, but I think maybe he will enjoy heaven." This morning the crowd was so large some were turning away. "It looks like 5 or 6 hours, so we'll come back later," Catherine, a Catholic from Birmingham, told reporters. Francis was more outspoken about issues relevant to now, the poor, human rights. He was more relatable, a people person. The Mexican visitors felt a particular bond with Francis, the first Latin American pope. "He was from Argentina. I'm Mexican. But it didn't matter. He was a unifier," one woman said. "He treated everyone equally and promoted peace. We came here to say thank you for what he did for us, and to pray that the new pope will be as right-minded in his ideas. We ask God to help us." While crowds continue to pay their respects, cardinals have been meeting each morning in the Holy See's Apostolic Palace since Francis died on Easter Monday. This morning marked their 3rd congregation meeting. During these gatherings, the cardinals decide on the logistics of the mourning period, but Vatican experts say they can also set the agenda for the conclave and privately lay out their priorities as they prepare to choose the next pope. as cardinals trickled out of a door in the Vatican near the Sant'Anna Church yesterday. After their second meeting since Francis died, some outlined topics they wanted the church to focus on. The central point is the preaching of the authentic faith as it is, said conservative Cardinal Mauro Piacenza. Most of the cardinals' decisions that have been publicly disclosed relate to arrangements for Francis's funeral and commemorations, but they will also need to pick a date for the conclave. During one of the congregation meetings before the 2013 conclave, then Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio gave a speech that emphasized the Church's duty to reach those at the peripheries. That speech made a significant mark, and Cardinal Bergoglio was elected Pope, becoming Francis. Sister Patricia Murray, the Executive Secretary of the International Union of Superiors General, knew Pope Francis well and met him many times. "I'm sad. Obviously, it's like when you lose a good friend. You regret their passing. There's something missing from your own life. But also it's a time to reflect and look back and just give thanks for so many things," she said. "For me, it was just the warmth and humanity of the man. You met a friend. He took you by the hand. He looked into your eyes. You were a special person for him." She added that Pope Francis paved the way for the role of women in the Catholic Church. Francis's funeral will take place at 10 o'clock local time, 9 o'clock BST on Saturday. However, he will be the first pope in more than a century not to be buried in the crypt at St. Peter's Basilica. He will instead be laid to rest at the Basilica of St. Mary Major in Rome. It was a wish he expressed in his final testament, writing, "The tomb should be in the ground, simple, without particular ornamentation, bearing only the inscription, Franciscus." For progressive Christians who saw Pope Francis as a guiding moral figure, his death leaves a void. Bishop Sean W. Rowe, the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church, said, "This moment is critical now. For those of us who want to embody the Sermon on the Mount and the Beatitudes and the love that Jesus showed in the world, this is now more important than ever." Francis stood in contrast to a brand of Christianity that has increasing power in the United States, one mixed with nationalism and, according to Bishop Rowe, not only fundamentally not Christian, but also dangerous.
Want this podcast without interruptions? Calaroga Plus delivers this show and over 20 premium shows completely ad-free, right to your favorite podcast player. We've just added exciting new series including Signal Lost. What happens when the most sensitive military intelligence in the world ends up on the wrong phone? White Smoke, taking you behind the scenes of all the interesting things that happen at the Vatican. And Pager Protocol, a thriller about getting exploding pagers into the hands of the bad guys. Plus, receive all your existing favorites like Palace Intrigue about the royal family, daily comedy news, 5 daily trivia questions, and 5 good news stories. Apple Podcast users, simply tap the banner in your Apple Podcasts app that says, "Uninterrupted Listening, Spotify and Other Players." Visit calaroga.com/plus. If you missed all that, check the links in the show notes. It's just $4.99 a month for no ads. Listen on any device, on any player you love, completely hassle-free.
Pope Francis's death also fires the starting gun on what many see as a battle for the soul of the Church, pitting those who want to continue his progressive reforms against a small but powerful group who want to reverse them. Francis dramatically reshaped the group of prelates who will soon cast their votes for his successor in the Sistine Chapel, the first pontiff from the Global South. He decided to rip up the old unwritten rulebook, which saw bishops of certain dioceses, most of them in Italy, Europe and the United States, automatically being made cardinals. Instead, Francis sought to internationalize the College of Cardinals, giving red hats to countries that had never been represented by a cardinal before, such as Tonga, Myanmar, Mongolia, the Central African Republic, and Haiti. His reforms made the body more representative of the global Catholic community, while the cardinals he selected, by and large, share his vision of the Church. All of this makes it more likely that the cardinals will choose a pope who represents continuity with Francis, but conclaves can throw up surprises. And despite the reforms Francis made, there is a small yet determined minority unhappy with the most recent papacy who will be looking for ways to change course. Some of the opposition is well funded, and the pre-conclave manoeuvring has been going on for several years. As crowds continue to flow through St. Peter's Basilica, with the Basilica remaining open until midnight to accommodate the faithful, preparations for Saturday's funeral proceed. World leaders, including President Donald Trump, are expected to attend. After the funeral, attention will turn to the conclave, which will likely begin in early May. Whether Francis's successor will continue his legacy of reform or chart a new course for the Church remains to be seen. But for now, as one mourner put it, Pope Francis is watching us from up there. He knows who goes and who doesn't. White Smoke is a production of Calaroga Shark Media. Executive producers, John McDermott and Mark Francis.